we use that to provide the experience to our customers. And some of the examples that we did in Viettin Bank was that we built the customer 360 understanding about the customers. And these customer 360 are integrated in all channels that we have possible interaction with our customers, including mobile banking, including internet banking for our corporate customers, and also for the CRM systems, and also to the contact center where customer calling in, and then we know about them before they actually share or raise their concern. So those are the few things that I think important to bring the personalized experience to our customers.
Nice, great. And when you're saying the sort of bringing that to life and transforming, you hear quite a lot of different talk and sharings about data flywheel. Is this something that you're sort of aware of and sort of using these feedback loops through the data flywheel? Sure. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I think anything that we do in terms of analytics and customer understanding may have some sort of like probability of correction, right? So some of the prediction that we have, like the customer segment or the customer needs, we need to go through a few different rounds of experiments to see the feedback from the customers, to see if let's say we send a message to the customers and we can see the open rate or the click-through rate from those links, and we can fine-tune our models, our analytics to enhance. So I think we need a feedback loop to actually really understand our customers.
Right. It's kind of a self-reinforcing loop. That's what I've heard. Right? The more acquisition, the more engagement, the more data that's being created, the more increased opportunity for insight, right?
Yeah. And one of the things that I want to add is that maybe people coming from different industries may have different experience and the way they do, but for banking, I think it's a quite complicated sector, and it's a special sort of like service that we need to engage with the customers in the long run, right? It's not like e-commerce that you show a product to the customers, and if they like, they just click and finish the purchase in let's say a few minutes, right? But for banking, if they really need us, we need to engage with them in a long time, and then once let's say they have a demand, let's say for a loan, they're gonna remember us. So and the interaction to our customers is in omni-channel, right? Not only in mobile banking, but it's also through the branches, to our RM. So anything we do in data analytics and AI, we need to ensure that the consistency in terms of message and interaction through all the channels to bring the omni-channel experience to our customers. And I think that is something that I like to do when we do data in banking.
It's very interesting. And within your experiences so far, often people will refer to big data, quantitative research, and we'll also have the qualitative research, right? So it's where I find it very interesting is we can often either through new tech, predict the future of what might be sort of human behavior and needs, but also we sort of need to balance not only what's happening, what we believe could happen, but also why it might be happening as well, which is often where you'd bring in human-centered design. We call it ethnographic research, participatory research, evaluative research methods from that kind of domain. Are you finding ways within your experience so far to sort of ensure that we have the what, but also like the why, the human element, and sort of merging both qualitative and research data findings to help your decision making? I'm curious if you had any experiences around that.
Yeah, I think especially for a younger generation in doing data analytics, they rely too much on the models, on the methods, right? And they sometimes they just use the models as the predictor, and they don't really understand what's happening behind the scene, and they don't really care too much about, let's say, the expertise knowledge from the RM, for example, right? So in that case, sometimes we can have a very good model in the lab, but when we
Yeah.
deploy that in production, or we deploy that to our systems, the feedback is not very good. So
Yeah.
normally I ask my teams to keep the balance between the technical side, the model things, and the domain knowledge and the experience. Especially, they have to talk a lot with the people that have expertise in the field,
Right.
especially it's like the sales teams, right? They know the customers more than us. So we need to have some factors that is explainable in the models and in the work that we do as well. And for those cases, I think even though we don't have the best models, but normally when we deploy, it gets the good feedback from the
Yeah.
users.
Interesting. Now, you're talking about the feedback from the customers, and let's say you're making these new improvements with AI and data and design, and how that's showing up in customer experiences. You mentioned about this kind of omni channel, these different ways of touching and connecting with the customers. Can you give us some fairly recent examples that you feel have helped to bring success in the organizations that you've been working in? Any practical examples you'd like to elaborate on?
I think, like I said at the beginning, right? The the design thinking that we apply here is not only for the end user or
Yeah.
customer engagement systems, but also for our employees. And in Viettin Bank, we are also um, take care a lot on the employee experience as well. So that's why we not only apply these data analytics and design thinking for our mobile app, for our website, but also for our internal system where we serve our employees
Yeah.
and, 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 and they serve our customer well. And like like I said at the beginning, we
Mm,
also have a customer experience, customer 360
mm,
about our customers, and those have
mm.
been deployed into our CRM system. And
Nice.
when the RM actually engage with the customers, they can know about our customers, and we have a few screens on the CRM to show the understanding about the customers, and some of the predictive models like the next best offers, what will they should offer to the customers, and that helped our employees a lot in terms of engaging with the customers.
Fantastic. Sounds great. So it's really from the customer's point of view, it must feel very tailored, spookily tailored, perhaps.
I think that there's still a long way to go, right? Because we only
Yeah.
start with few major segments in our customers base, but in the end goal, like I said, is hyper personalization. So
Yes.
we try tune and make sure that our segmentation is well done.
I see. I got it. And um, in terms of, let's just say we're talking there, reflecting on the team that you're mentioning. Is there any sort of tips or advice in terms of how you're structuring teams there that you find is helpful in terms of, I can imagine, ensuring all the right people have access to the right information to be able to make decisions, to be able to push the right and manage the right engagement? Any structure that you might want to recommend to the audience that could help? Maybe this is structure or rules of the types of people in this way of working.
So for applying data analytics, there are normally two types of people. One coming from technical background, right? Like they do bachelor in computer science, engineering, things like that. The other people are coming from more business background, like banking, finance, for example, and they are normally having different strengths and weaknesses, right? People with technical background, normally they are excellent in coding, in processing data, but they I would say they lack soft skills, and they don't really. It's very hard for them to actually understand a business problem.
Right.
On the other side, the people that coming from more business background, they have better soft skill, they have better knowledge in business, but then data and analytics skills are not that good. So normally a good team is combined of different people from different backgrounds.
Right.
And I encourage my technical team to learn more about more about business.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
it's so, yeah.
And before, I normally a strong message that I always talk to my teams is that don't think of yourself as a modeler, as a data scientist to build the models, but think of yourself as a problem solver. So the problem, find the business problem and solve the problem for the business.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. You just kind of inspire me just to talk to one other slide I had there just set up, and it's more what I call, the human angle to it all, right? More the mindsets, the principles behind a lot of what we actually do, and I mean, of course we need that domain experience, expertise in on the tech side of things, but where I often find where you're trying to bridge the gap between the human and the tech is through these more human-centered mindsets. So like you say, how do we ensure that we have creative problem framers and solvers with a kind of a common language of how they collaborate, how they innovate, how they actually do, like you say, use the tech, use the tools, whatever they may be, to be more team and customer centric. So a few that I often, whenever I'm working with people, it's, like, as you say, like, let's have some empathy. Let's question before we rush off and come up with solutions. Let's take a step back. Are we actually solving a meaningful problem for the bank, for people in the bank, for the customer out there? You mentioned, I love the example you mentioned about the agents, the bank agents, the sales folks. Have we actually gone and spoken to them about the reality of maybe what's showing up in some initial data that we're beginning to analyze? And then, with that, we can spark more creative, imaginative ideas across our teams that we work with, and iterate those out ultimately to the marketplace. So just thought that was quite interesting. That the mindsets are really key in the team. And in terms of then the building blocks or the ways of working, are there any particular mindsets that echo with you, or ways of working that you think, I'd like to recommend that to the group?
Yeah, I think I really like the six box that you six mindset that you plot here,
Cool.
and that's exactly what I normally guide my team. Try to
Mm,
find problems. Spend a lot of time to really understand the problems before we actually work around with the data. Because if, like I said, many people trying to rely too much on the models and the
mm,
data and don't really understand what the business problem is they're solving.
yes.
Yeah, so sometimes that works, but normally most of the time that doesn't really work, right?
Yeah.
Because data can reflect some part of the real problem only, and
Right.
some of the factors actually not in the data for us to exploit, right? So that's why we need to understand the problems and combine our expertise, our knowledge with the data.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It sort of just talks a little bit to um, this. If you imagine, we call this the DVF model. It's kind of like when we look out in the marketplace and we're considering where to focus our lens as such, and where to focus on work, to your point exactly, the data will tell us so much, but we also need to find and use some other, like I mentioned before, ethnographic research methods to really confirm before we start solving a problem, do the internal team or the customers really want us to solve this problem we believe to be an issue, and do enough of them want to solve it, us to solve it. And we call this the desirability angle. What are we going to focus on designing and making? And therefore you're able to sort of extrapolate, well, if enough people really want us to solve this, then what's the business viability in terms of revenue or cost saving, efficiency, and then ultimately and only then should we actually jump into the actual making, the tech feasibility, this what's possible between everything we're talking about. So I just quite like that, the DVF model, just to encapsulate what you're saying. And another model I quite like to use, which is quite useful, is the UK Design Council. It's the double diamond of design, and it sort of breaks down, like you say, problem framing, problem solving into sort of four key steps to discover and define and to question: is this the right priority problem to solve for? Versus how best to then go and solve it and take it forward. Was there any other sort of structures? I mean, does this echo with you, or are there any other sort of structures or models that you'd find that you might like to recommend to the audience?
Yeah, I think your models are good, right? But something that more technical and more
Mm,
relevant to the data people is that
mm,
I actually design thinking is not only in visual design, right? Design
no,
thinking
that's right. Mm,
is any, everything that we're doing. For example, one of the practice that I normally use when I still coding, now recently I don't code too much, right? But before, when I was still a data scientist, before I actually code anything, I spend quite a lot of time in design the pattern of the algorithms that I'm gonna code first, right? Before
nice.
actually jumping into code, because I I still can see quite a few people in the field that they when they receive the problem, they jump into coding right away without
Yeah.
thinking about design, thinking about what are the functions that they're gonna use in the code, right? So and
Mm,
when they do that, they may still receive the same result, but we don't see a readable, as a product, and it's very hard for others to actually follow, and even for themselves, if they leave that for a month or two, and they coming back, and then they still can't understand what they did. So
Yeah.
my advice for the people doing data is that they should spend enough time to actually design their algorithms before coding.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you can see just a few examples. These are some common examples, at Doodle we've found we often use in this combination of the skills we're discussing, and rapidly prototyping, not at too high a level of fidelity, even paper prototyping certain ideas, just allows us to get those fast feedback loops from the user of whatever we're looking to make. So some of the banks Doodle have worked with, we've literally validated the problems we're trying to solve, that they're meaningful, they're important to solve for, and then we've sparked ideas, and then we've put paper prototypes or very low fidelity customer journeys, let's say wireframes, I think some people call them, and again, within a day or two, we're already doing what we call think aloud testing, observing people trying to understand our ideas, our solutions, trying to use them, and then seeing whether is this a relevant problem we're solving for, and do you understand how to use the solution without us there in the room, so that you're deriving value from it. It's helping you solve problems. So I can see their rapid prototyping being something that then I would imagine then leads ultimately to a higher fidelity solution, and the more personalized solutions like you're mentioning. Yeah. And in terms of when we look at certain, often we ultimately have to be able to measure, right? We use that word validate once something's going out into market. Are there any kind of key measures in these ways of working that you think, everyone in the room, it's very important, we should always, no matter how busy we are, keep these key factors or measures in mind?
So I'm just talking in terms of the use cases that we did in data analytics, and normally what we did was with business growth or risk reduction or optimization, right? So, for example, for the business growth cases, what we normally measure is the uplift in conversion rate. For example, one of the let's say one of the use case that we normally do is cross sell for credit card products, right?
Right.
And when we apply new models or new techniques in analytics, we're gonna compare with our baseline before using the models to see the conversion rate or the click-through rate is uplift compared to the baseline. So
Right.
that is one of the typical example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for operation optimization use cases, I think it's easier to measure because we can measure the productivity of the people or the number of people FTE we use to do the same work,
Yeah.
something like that. Or in banking, some of the use cases we can measure by dollar value.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And if you're mentioning these use cases, and on your reflection of recent experiences, are there any particular use cases that you see have really helped shift the dial in banking? You'd say, yeah, if you're going to do 5, make sure you focus on these top areas.
I think the easiest use case that people may think of is the cross sales, right? Like
Right.
picking a set of customers to cross sell some other products. But I
Right.
think one of the things that I'm more I like to do more is the overall customer segmentation, um,
Mm.
including strategic segments and tactical segments.
Right.
So some of the segments that we will uh, engage and nurture the customers for a long time.
Yeah.
For example, we try to find hidden affluent customers in the banks, people that may be rich, but they don't use much in our banks, right? And we try to target them to to make them use our service more, and that's where we can earn money, right?
Sure.
And for yeah, sure. The end goal is to support customers, but also they will return us back, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I think customer segmentation is one of the thing that I will spend most of my time doing in the team, and some of the other cases on optimization as well, especially with AI ready. We can do a lot of AI agents that support optimizing the works for our employees,
Nice.
and allow them to spend more time on the more value works.
Nice. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Frees up their time for more strategic, high impact
Yeah.
work. Lovely. Now, time's flying in. It's pretty crazy. So, I'm mindful in a few moments. I'd love to see if anyone's got any questions. But when we were discussing putting this podcast together, you were mentioning about some of your inspiration, in particular some books, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about where do you think all this is going, and tell us a little bit about some of your inspiration and as well as the future. What do you
Yeah,
think?
so I think one of the books that inspired me a lot is the Driving Digital Transformation from Dennis School. He was leading the Tomorrow Digital Bank, one of the branch of OCBC, in Singapore, and I
Mm,
think that is, I can say that that is the, um, the accomplished digital bank, the first accomplished digital bank in the region, and that book helped me a lot in guiding me of my work here as well. Yeah, I that is the book that I recommend everybody to read.
nice. And any particular key takeaways or things that sort of resonated with you that we could take away and
I
consider?
think some of the I think some of the message from that is that um, we will provide to our customer a complete set of services instead of looking at each of the products alone.
Yeah,
And to do that, we have to do customer segmentation very well. And
yeah, interesting.
yeah, and in the book, they focus in some of the segments like young professionals or young professionals with families. So those are the segments that are more savvy to the digital banks. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. It's so interesting to hear how so much of what you've been saying and sort of emphasizing is the importance again of going back to the fundamental building block of like who are we ultimately targeting, who
Yeah.
are we trying to serve, and through that lens, then how does that open up different business opportunities in terms of where we can focus and how we can empower the sales agents or whomever, to go and serve them better. Were there any other things that we haven't talked about so far before we pass the microphone, maybe to some of the audience here? Anything else you just wanted to emphasize or share that can help again folks do these new ways of working in banking?
Yeah, I think one of the things I may mention already, but it's also
Mm,
important, is
mm,
apart from customer experience,
mm,
we here in Bank we also pay attention to employee experience as well,
mm,
because our customer will only receive good feedback, good services, good
mm.
products if our employees are happy. So
Right,
we spend
right.
our effort in improving experience of our employees as well.
Right. Lovely. Great. Well, I've just put those links you can see on the screen, including to your top recommended book. in the chat for everyone to easily access. Now, curious team, anyone got any other questions or something that you're maybe thinking about doing yourself? You've got a master here in the room with Tung. Would you like to ask a question? I think you can unmute, or you can write your question in the chat box. So are there any questions or just any reflections on what we've shared today? Any thoughts? Again, any reflections or any questions? Maybe there's something you're thinking of doing using design, AI, big data we can address. I'm curious. Anyone doing something similar? Any particular learnings that you feel you'd like to emphasize or add on to what we've been discussing today, team? Anyone like to emphasize or add on to what we've shared? Should be able to unmute. I think you should be able to unmute your mic and turn on your microphone. Or again, write your question in the chat box. No, not yet. Yeah, they're all blown away. Blown away with so much extra knowledge. I hope something to take away. Is there anything, if you want to write in the chat box, folks, just a key takeaway or anything you think, just kind of thinking if there was like one thing, if you're thinking maybe of something that you're going to implement, a new offering or a customer journey, where could you bring in, data, AI, human-centered design going forward? Any reflections there? Feel welcome to write it in the chat box. So Remy, I see you had a question. I'll just scroll up to see that. Okay, I'm curious if integration of AI is in some industries are doing to mainly push business forward, or is it a tool to fix a consumer request or challenge? So interesting. So is this something that we've been talking about that really pushes businesses forward, or is it more so proactively, or is it more something just to sort of fix, based on consumer request challenge? Any thoughts to how you find that balance, Doug?
Yeah, I think like in Bank, data and AI is attract a lot of attention from our leadership, including our chairman. So that's why, even though in other organizations or in Vietnam, there's a cut down, right? But and optimizing of the organization. But in Bank, we just split into a new division of data and AI. And our leaderships consider data and AI is the next engine of the bank. So it's not only reactive to the requests or the challenge from our competitors, but we consider that at the main driver to the new growth as well, including understanding the customers to support and engage with the customer well. By doing that, I believe that we're gonna grow our customers base and grow the return on our customers. On the other side, we also use data and AI as a tool to optimize the operation of the bank as well, and shift our staff from back to front more. So a lot of operation things can be done by and supported by AI, and we move our task force into the front to serve our customer better. So I think that's where we want to go to, but I think it's still a long journey ahead, and a lot to do.
Sure. And just to follow up on that and some of those examples, I love that idea of like, yeah, less people in the back, more people where it really matters, impacting people at the front end. Remy's just had a follow-up question. Are there any other sort of examples, either in what you've worked on so far, or any examples around the world that you feel like, wow, that, using AI, big data, it's really impacted the banking experience so far?
So is that the question for Remy?
Yeah. Any particular examples, that you've seen that has helped shift the dial? So maybe some, like when you say forward, would that be more, if you could just break that down, would that be like the sales agents, how they're interacting, or branch staff? Maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about that example.
So for example, one of the use cases that we are trying to do now is for the credit approval process, right?
Right.
Our sales agents or RM is collecting documents from our customers, and they need to spend about 3 to 5 days to actually prepare the credit report and prepare all the documents to submit to our head office for approval. But it's not only there. Sometimes the preparation is not complete, right? So the head office is actually turning back the credit proposal. So it takes a lot of time and ping pong, and so we are trying to support our RM and sales agent to prepare the credit report faster and more accurate.
Right.
The end goal is to still rely on our RM. AI is not replacing them.
No.
But is helping and speed up the process. And I believe by doing that, our RM will have more time to spend with customers and less time on doing these kind of operation things.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, I can imagine the time saving of that kind of use case you just described, and then the speed to decision making, and then both internal time and cost saving, plus also the delight of the customer being able to get their answer much faster. I mean, what kind of percentage improvement would we be talking about? Any numbers you can kind of share, the new way versus the old way?
Actually, this is the thing that we have just started. We haven't completed yet. But our goal is to reduce about 50% of the time.
Nice. Nice. Huge time and cost saving, let alone, I'm sure, improvement in customer satisfaction.
I think by doing that, we're gonna improve customer experience as well, right? Because instead of they have to wait for about a week or two to receive the credit result, now they can receive in less amount of time. So
nice, awesome, great. Well, thanks so much for answering Remy's great questions. And any other follow-up questions, Tim? Anything else you would like to clarify? We're going to have to close up at the end of the hour. Any other questions? Do feel welcome to write it in the chat box or unmute. And Tung, just I love your book recommendation, so I can see next time I can get to a bookstore, I'm going to be having some bedtime reading on that one. Any other? I love to do what we call a rapid fire. I say one tool, one mindset, one something that you would sort of recommend to anyone in the room right now. What do they take away? Maybe we start with, again, just go back to mindset. Any one mindset that you think people should shift to make sure we can do this?
So this message I already shared in a few other venues, but every time that I was asked this kind of question, I think there are three things that I advise everybody that they should maintain lifelong learning habit. So try not to do big things, but try to be better every day, even 1%. The
Great.
second mindset is problem solving. So everything that you do in the work, in life, is solving some kind of problem. So have the problem solving mindset in when you're doing your task. And the third um, advice is trying to be expert in some domain. Because AI is helping us doing a lot of things, but they cannot replace our expertise, and that is
Sure.
where we have our value in the labor market.
Fantastic. Love it. Yeah, those are great tips. Make a lot of sense. Yeah, expert domain experiences. It's not going to be replaced. I think just AI and big data is just going to be able to help those
Yeah,
people we've been talking about make better, smarter, more informed, and
yeah,
faster decisions. But it's like you say, through lifelong learning, we can all sort of benefit and grow ourselves, and frankly, work on less repetitive, boring things and more strategic, higher impact things, no matter what they may be. So yeah, great tips. I love it. Folks, I think we're going to come to the top of the hour very fast. Again, was there any other final question before we wrap up today? Just make sure there's nothing else. Just while we're waiting for that, the good news is this in the main has been recorded. So thank you so much to all of you for signing up and joining us here today. You will get the recording emailed to you probably by about Monday or Tuesday. All right. So this is, again, a podcast that we'll be looking to run every month. So we'll inform you very soon who the next guest will be as well, and hope we can see you back here, and also maybe Thung, you can join us as well. And thank you again, Thung, so much for your valuable and very inspiring sharings. Plenty, I think, I can take away, let alone maybe the folks in the room with us as well. And Thung, was there any other final comment, or shall we let you get back to your work?
Yeah, I think I just want to have a final thanks to Chris again on inviting me here today, and it's my honor to share with everybody. And I'm glad to be connected on LinkedIn to discuss more if you're interested in.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Stung. My pleasure. And yeah, absolutely. You'll see in the chat box, folks, our LinkedIn profile. So feel welcome to connect there too. All right, folks. Well, without further ado, have a lovely weekend, and see you all at the next podcast. And again, very big thank you from Mr. Tung to Mr. Tung. Thank you. Yeah. See you all next time.
Thank you, and see ya.
Thank you. Bye.